What's going on YouTube? It's your boy DMD, and today I'm coming at you guys with a YGO Pro replay. It's just a little match I recorded watching while I was online. It is between Invoked Dragma and Pure Sky Striker. Sky Striker is one of those decks that's in a really interesting place. I did cover it on my top 5 budget videos, and I really feel like there's a lot of potential with this deck, especially with a card like Mystic Mine, which isn't really that budget, but you guys are about to see why this deck is so powerful and formidable format in and format out. So here we go. We are leading with the Invoke Dragma player. It's going to activate Meltdown and do normal Invoke stuff. Link off for Almirage and then a Secure Gardener, so his invocation will be live for Mechaba, then shovels the invocation back into the deck and adds Alistair back to hand. Now, if we take a look at his back row here, he's got an Imperm and a Call by the Grave, plus a Forbidden Droplets. All of these, except Forbidden Droplets, are really good in the Striker matchup, just because the Imperm can stop the link effects and then Call by can shut out Ray. On top of that, he's got a monster and a spell card in hand from Mechaba. Unfortunately for the Invoke Dragma player, the Sky Striker player has literally everything. He's got Desires, he's got Cosmic Cyclone to get rid of some of the back row, and then on top of that he's got Mystic Mine and Afterburners and Widow Anchors and Hornet Drones. My dude's hand is stacked. He goes for the Hayate off of the Hornet Drones token and then Afterburners so we can get rid of the Mechaba. When the Mechaba tries to negate, he can just use Widow Anchor to negate its Mechaba from trying to negate the Afterburner. In main phase 2, you just go into Kagari and get Widow Anchor back, and then Shizuku at end step to get the multi-roll for next turn. So at end phase, if you just look at the number of cards on both players' hands and fields, you will know that the Striker player has a clear advantage of this game. There's not really, I don't think, a way for the Striker player to lose this game, honestly. Even though there is a Called by the Grave for a potential Ray to be summoned back, there's not really a whole lot that the Invoke Dragma player can do, considering he's just going to get Veilered when he tries to summon Alistair. And he goes for the Called by on the effect Veiler, but then just gets him Widow Anchored for his trouble. He then attempts to activate Ecclesia the Dragma Saint, which resolves, and he gets a search for Maximus. Maximus will go ahead and summon itself and send a Shizuku and a Kaina from the Sky Striker player's extra deck to the graveyard. Now back on the play, the Sky Striker player will go ahead and summon Kagari, getting back a Widow Anchor, and then activating said Widow Anchor, targeting the Maximus. Then he activates multi-roll and attempts to go to battle phase. He swings directly for Hayate and hits for 15, sending a Shark Cannon from his deck to the graveyard. Wind Pegasus Agnister will also trigger to shuffle back the multi-roll into the deck before in main phase 2 linking off into Shizuku and adding back the multi-roll at end step. Now, if you look at this point, you consider the fact that the Sky Striker player has 5 cards to the Invoked players 2 cards, and you can kind of see really where this game is kind of just spiraled out of control for the Striker player, and there's not really a whole lot he can do at this point. So moving on to the Dragma player's turn, he rips a copy of Maximus for turn, which he banishes a Mecha before, and then triggers its effect to send 2 of his extra deck monsters to make his opponent send 2 of his extra deck monsters from the deck to the graveyard. He sends a Construct in order to regain a Reshadal Incarnation from his graveyard, but unfortunately it eats a DD Crow. At end phase, Titanclad will summon an Ecclesia from the deck, which will then add a Maximus to the hand. However, on the Striker player's turn, he has finally decided that he has had enough of interactivity within this game and decides to activate Mystic Mine. In light of the activation of Mystic Mine, I have determined that I am only going to commentate henceforth in this particular game when anything especially notable happens. Poke. 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 Okay, this was kind of a heads-up play, though. He uses Call by the Grave to banish his Hayate, so he can't actually swing for game. So that was kind of exciting. Oh, wait, no, wait, never mind. Called by the Grave on Hayate in Graveyard, so this Hayate on field cannot attack directly. He passes turn because there's absolutely nothing he can do under Mystic Mine, and then gets Forbidden Droplets negating the Hayate, so it can't in fact attack directly again. He passes turn because he can't do anything under Mystic Mine, and finally, there is no more responses, he dead. Okay, so moving on to game 2, you guys might wonder why Sky Striker dude is playing Despot 003 or 2 or whatever one that one is. In his deck. Well, he's actually playing a small needle fiber package to utilize some synchros in the extra deck. Will they make an appearance these games? Who knows? Anyway, our opponent here hard drew Alistair the Invoker to start the game off. So he's going to activate Effect, and luckily, even though he gets Ghost Ogred here, probably, or no, Effect Veiler, excuse me, he has the invocation in hand anyway, so it doesn't even matter. He gets the Macabre, shuffles the invocation back into the deck, activates 3 tactical talents because he did get hand trapped, and draws Ash and Alistair. At the beginning of his main phase, the Sky Striker player will activate a Mystic Mine, which will get hit by Cosmic Cyclone. Fortunately, he did have the removal. Unfortunately, Sky Striker player drew another copy of Mystic Mine, and the invoked player has no spells in his hand, so we are back to where we were game 1, and a Call by the Grave off the top. Isn't that funny? If that had been 1 turn sooner, he could have outed the Mystic Mine. No, actually, it's not funny. It's actually very sad. This is very unfortunate. Oh, would you look at that? A Ray off the top. Time for Hayate Beatdown. Hayate is going to send Widow Anchor despite doing 0 damage, and then Kagari is going to summon itself main phase 2 and get the Widow Anchor back to hand. Shizuku is going to summon itself before moving to end phase, and then Shizuku will trigger, adding a Afterburners. Invoked player will draw a Called By for turn and pass. Activating Widow Anchor on the Macabre, and then jamming Waves on one of these set back rows. Then activating Afterburner to target the Macabre and then the Link monster, because... So here's where he loses the game. He uses Afterburner's second effect to target his own Mystic Mine, and then normal summon Despot 002 so he can make Needle Fiber. Unfortunately, he doesn't know that, like all good invoked players, my mans has drawn double Ash Blossom. So unfortunately, he gets ashed for his trouble, and then yikes. Invoked player chains Called by the Grave and banishes the Despot 001. The Striker player attacks directly with Needle Fiber, and that's the end of the turn. Invoked player rips Meltdown off the top, normal summons the Alistair, Alistair adds Invocation, then activates Invocation for a Macabre, then uses the Invocation to shuffle itself back in the deck to add Alistair back to hand, crashes into the Needle Fiber, and then passes turn. The Striker player rips a Terraforming off the top, gets an Ash, and concedes. 3, the Dragma Invoked player is on the play, gets ashed immediately after activating Disciples, and passes. The Sky Striker player is going to lead it off with a Terraforming, searching an Area 0. Area 0 will send a set card to the graveyard in order to add a Ray to hand. We are going to then activate a Rhoda to get a copy of Rose. Ray will be summoned to link into a Hayate. Hayate is going to send a copy of Shark Cannon. Kagari will retrieve said Shark Cannon and then go into Shizuku, which will get met with an Infinite Impermanence, and we will set to end pass. A Shark Cannon and a Widow Anchor in the back row looks kind of formidable, especially considering the hand. And then we will pass the turn. Unfortunately, this hand doesn't really accomplish anything from the Dogmatika player, so we will simply set 3 and pass turn. At the beginning of main phase 1 for the Striker player, we will activate Dragma Punishment, which will chain Ray in the graveyard, and Inst will target the set Shark Cannon. Ray will get summoned back before being used as material to activate Area 0. After that, Ray will chain out, and then summon a copy of Hayate from the extra deck. Area 0 will find a Widow Anchor off the top 3, and then Kagari will be summoned to retrieve a copy of Shark Cannon from the graveyard. Kagari will then punch for 18, move to end phase after setting 2 cards and passing. The striker player is on the draw, and oh my god, a copy of Multi-Roll. Will this finally seal it up? Activating Multi-Roll's effect to summon a Ray from the deck. Activating Rose effect to summon herself from the hand, and this is finally lethal. Oh my god, I can't believe it's finally over. Well, all jokes aside, thank you to the 2 guys, Miles Yugi and Kuchin, who took part in that replay video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this content, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It's me, it's that DMD, and your boy is out. But for real though, please ban Mystic Mind, Konami.